What? Is this ugly girl still living at her parents' home? You're so ugly, and that's just a nuisance. So could you please leave this house immediately?
Exactly. You don't belong here, so pack your things right now and go back to your parents' house.
About a month after my husband passed away, I was living and taking care of my mother-in-law when these words were being said to me by the two. Did I do something wrong? If anything, I've been helping by paying $3,000 a month for rent. But I've reached my limit. If they think I'm a nuisance, I'll leave the house as they wish. 1 month later.
I'm sorry. I really want to apologize for everything so far. Please, forgive me.
My mother-in-law apologized to me on her knees, tears streaming down her face. But just apologizing won't solve the problem. So I decided to reveal a surprising fact to my mother-in-law. It's been a year since I married my husband, and I started living in my in-laws' house last month. My husband and I met through mutual friends, found out we both liked camping, and quickly hit it off. We both loved not just camping, but all outdoor activities, and quickly became close, leading to our marriage. Now I am living together, taking care of my mother-in-law, who became alone after my father-in-law passed away.
Oh, welcome back. The meat and potato stew you cooked was so delicious. I ate it all. Thank you for cooking every day.
You're welcome. As long as I live in this house, I'll help out as much as I can. This is something my husband told me, but my father-in-law passed away from illness 3 years ago, causing my mother-in-law significant mental and physical stress, losing over 22 pounds. My father-in-law and mother-in-law were known as a loving couple, and since his death, my husband has been very concerned about her. We started dating after a while and frequently visited the in-laws, so I actively tried to get along with my mother-in-law. She is a truly kind person, financially stable due to the inheritance left by my father-in-law, and there was no conflict between us when mothers-in-law and daughters-in-law tend to have conflicts. A real parent-child bond was quickly formed between us, and gradually her smile returned. My husband and I both worked, and we had a decent income. Knowing how much my husband cared for his mother, we were giving her $3,000 a month as rent, but every life has its troubles. Hey, I'm a bit short on living expenses this month. Can you help me out with some money?
What? Did you spend it on something again?
My kid wants to learn piano, but the class fee was more expensive than I thought. After paying it, our living expenses got tight. So please help me. I'm begging you. I heard a similar story last month. If you're spending on your child, have you thought about ways to save on your living expenses? Huh? Why are you butting in like that? This has nothing to do with you, you know. As I joined the conversation and said that, my sister-in-law frowned unhappily. I didn't expect her to say that, but then my husband, who had been quietly listening, spoke up.
You're an adult now. Stop relying on your parents and figure things out for yourself. When my husband said this sternly, my sister-in-law looked displeased, but she started to avoid the topic of money. Although my sister-in-law did not live with us, it seemed she had become more demanding for money ever since our father-in-law passed away. My father-in-law was quite frugal, but my mother-in-law was more lenient with money. My husband, like his siblings, was always kindly treated, and his requests for money were often granted. I understand the desire to be kind to one's children, but they're adults now. They need to fend for themselves. My mother-in-law seemed to feel a bit conflicted about this, but perhaps it was inevitable to show kindness to her remaining family. However, in the case of my sister-in-law, her attitude seemed to be exploiting my mother-in-law, demanding large sums of money. Since we started living in my husband's family home, he took over managing the finances. One day I went to work as usual, but my husband was feeling unwell and had gone to the hospital since morning. I initially thought it was just a cold, but during lunch, I received a call from my husband. It wasn't just a cold. They found cancer during the tests. It seems to be quite advanced, and they told me I have about a year left to live.
His shocking words left me speechless. I panicked and my thoughts froze. After standing still for a while, reality hit me hard, and I rushed to the hospital where my husband was. At that time, my husband still had enough strength to converse normally, but as the treatment continued, his strength weakened, and after 6 months, he could hardly talk. 7 months later...
Can you listen to me for a moment?
My husband, struggling to breathe, tried his best to convey something important to me. The content of his words was surprising and left me in shock. After hearing something I never expected, I spent several days absorbed in those thoughts, but a week later, my husband passed away. I can't believe it. Why? I couldn't grasp what was really happening. However, after his passing, I was busy with a funeral wake and settling his estate. Days passed, and just when I thought I could finally start to come to terms with my husband's death, an unexpected incident occurred. I have something to talk about. Is now a good time? Of course. What would you like to talk about? How much did you inherit from my brother? Actually, I heard that a spot opened up in a very popular nursing home that's hard to get into. Why don't we consider admitting Mom there? My brother is no longer here, and taking care of that old lady must be a hassle for you, right? Seeing my sister-in-law smirk about this topic made my heart clench. To bring up such a topic right after my husband's death. But looking into her eyes, I could tell she was serious. This house is too big for just that old woman. Don't you think it's a waste? If my family and I live here, you can live alone without any worries. I think it's the best choice for everyone. While my sister-in-law didn't say it explicitly, her remarks gave the impression that she had been eagerly awaiting my husband's death. It's no joke. The way she trivialized my husband's death and her disdainful attitude towards my mother-in-law, I couldn't tolerate it anymore. I appreciate your suggestion, but I have no intention of doing such a thing. I plan to continue living with my mother-in-law, taking my husband's place. When I firmly declined, my sister-in-law left the house in a bad mood. Originally, it seemed she viewed my mother-in-law as a convenient source of money, so her attitude was not surprising, but I was honestly shocked by her blatant actions. However, I had no intention of letting my sister-in-law have her way, nor did I plan to put my mother-in-law in a nursing home. But an event, a week later, shook my resolve. Upon returning from work, I found my mother-in-law glaring at me angrily and my sister-in-law smirking beside her.
I'm disappointed in you. I want you to leave this house. How dare you plan to put someone in a nursing home without consulting? What are you trying to do? Take over the house?
No, that's not my intention. What do you mean? Why don't you just be honest? It was your proposal, wasn't it? You said to put Mom in a nursing home and sell this family home, and suggested we split the sale proceeds, didn't you? I never said such a thing. The one who wanted to send you, mother-in-law, to the nursing home was... Shocked by this unexpected betrayal, I struggled to speak but managed to express my thoughts. I was genuinely surprised and didn't anticipate such forceful tactics, just because things weren't going her way. The pain and sadness enveloped me as my mother-in-law looked down on me as if I was worthless.
I don't consider you family anymore. Please leave this house right now.
It seemed my mother-in-law had no intention of listening to me, shouting at me with rage in her face. Understood. If that's what you want, I'll leave as you wish. Perhaps my sister-in-law had influenced her, but this was a clear betrayal for me, who had decided to continue caring for my mother-in-law in place of my husband. I quickly packed my things and decided to return to my parents' home. I needed to find a new place to live and had a lot to do, but being kicked out by my mother-in-law deeply hurt me, so I decided to rest at my parents' home for a while. About a month later... Hello, is that you? You withdrew money from our parents' account without permission, didn't you? Why is there not a single dollar left in the account? What? Don't say such ridiculous things. Are you calling me a thief now? Pretending you don't know? If you keep doing this, I'll get the police involved. Come to our parents' house right now. After saying this, my sister-in-law abruptly hung up the phone, caught in someone's conspiracy and now being accused of theft. I've had enough. I had anticipated issues with the mortgage of the family home. There must still be several years of mortgage payments left unpaid. Honestly, I didn't have the time or energy to deal with my sister-in-law. I wanted to cut ties, but I had reasons why I couldn't. There was still a truth I had to reveal. With a heavy heart, I immediately headed to my in-laws' home. Just like the day I left, my mother-in-law glared at me. My sister-in-law was there too, giving me the same look. Did you steal money from the house or withdraw it from the account? I don't know, but give it back quickly. You both were working, right? So there must be a significant balance, right?
What are you talking about? There's nothing left of my father-in-law's inheritance. We've been bearing all the living expenses and rent. Do you think the inheritance would cover everything?
What? Really?
My words left my sister-in-law looking at my mother-in-law in surprise. It was clear that there was a misunderstanding between the two. My mother-in-law knew that we had been financially supporting the family home, but she probably thought that my father-in-law's inheritance would suffice for a while. However, the actual situation was quite different.
Maybe, in this situation, isn't my mother-in-law the victim?
Mother-in-law, it was your daughter who was misusing father-in-law's inheritance, wasn't it?
What?
At that moment, my mother-in-law's expression changed dramatically. There was an air of confusion, as if she couldn't grasp what I was saying, but I never lie to deceive others. The attitude of my sister-in-law made it clear that what I was saying was true. Her expression changed the moment the inheritance was mentioned, even though she had been glaring at me sharply before. I see through the schemes you've been plotting and the misdeeds you've been committing. Actually, my husband told me that since we started living together, he took over managing the household finances. He noticed that the inheritance supposed to be received by my mother-in-law had significantly decreased. He thought it was abnormal. Moreover, my sister-in-law's frequent and unusual financial requests to him seemed suspicious, so he confronted her. It turned out she had withdrawn cash from the inheritance without any permission. She was actually stealing.
Wait, is that true?
The moment I revealed the truth, my sister-in-law was completely confused and my mother-in-law's anger immediately turned towards her. My mother-in-law probably didn't realize the money was gradually decreasing, as she had been living modestly since my father-in-law's passing and never paid much attention to finances. My husband, being in accounting, was aware of even minor financial changes. This misdeed came to light when my husband confronted my sister-in-law, yet for my mother-in-law, her daughter remained precious, leading my husband to keep it a secret under the promise of repayment. The reason my husband sternly stopped her from borrowing money from my mother-in-law was because of this. I only learned of this a few days before my husband passed away. I was truly surprised when I heard about this from my husband, but it seems to be the truth.
To steal someone else's money, even if they are family. What were you thinking? Can't you differentiate between what's right and what's wrong? Stop making excuses. You thieving cat!
My mother-in-law's face became increasingly red with anger, as if she was about to burst a blood vessel. Although she was not someone who clung to money, she had a strict moral compass, especially harsh on acts of malice and betrayal. Her decision to disown me, seeing my act of sending her to a nursing home as a betrayal, was also based on these values. These values applied not just to me, a non-blood relative, but also to her own daughter. However, I had more to reveal. Also, the large amount of money you got by betraying your family was used for gambling, right?
Huh? Wait a minute, what are you talking about?
Pretending you don't know?
Ha!
I've investigated everything. You'll understand if you look at these. I said this and showed them several photos from an envelope. These are pictures secretly taken by my deceased husband, clearly capturing my sister-in-law entering and exiting a casino. Your husband works for a foreign company, and you should be financially comfortable. My husband always wondered why you were so desperate for money. The investigation unexpectedly revealed your gambling addiction. Tell me, how enjoyable was it to gamble with someone else's money?
What is this? This is called stalking. This is no joke.
You're calling others thieves and now this? And there's something else I need to tell you, mother-in-law. It was your daughter who suggested sending you to the nursing home, you know.
What?
Finally, I reached this point. It's time to reveal everything and then bring this to a close. My sister-in-law's true nature, previously unnoticed, was revealed through this incident. This should make my mother-in-law realize that her blaming me was a mistake. Additionally, my mother-in-law was also manipulated by my sister-in-law's schemes. With the truth out, she should understand my position. I'm not sure if this will be conclusive evidence, but I want you to see this.
I said so and presented my mother-in-law with the text messages between me and my sister-in-law. The history showed my sister-in-law sending me numerous links and nursing homes, serving as evidence of her scheming.
Were you really planning to abandon your own mother?
That's not it. It's all a misunderstanding. Please, just listen to my side of the story. It seems you planned to kick my mother-in-law out and live here with your family, right? This house isn't that old. Still perfectly livable. Who was it that was thinking only of themselves, trying to take everything? Can you think about it calmly for a moment? As I spoke, my mother-in-law seemed to grasp the situation. She then looked at me sadly as if she knew what she did was wrong and apologized, and turned her angry voice towards my sister-in-law.
How selfish can you be? To repay kindness with betrayal? After all this time thinking of you as family, how do you see me? Don't mock me.
Wait, just listen. There's a huge reason for this. At that moment, a loud noise echoed from the hallway, and footsteps followed as my sister-in-law's husband entered the room.
Sorry, I'm late. Got caught in traffic.
It's okay. Oh, mother-in-law, I hadn't told you yet, but I asked him to come. I left the house key open, so he could enter any time. Surprised by the sudden appearance of my sister-in-law's husband, both were taken aback. I explained the situation, and they quickly understood. This issue wasn't just between me and my mother-in-law, it also affected my sister-in-law's husband. My sister-in-law's husband could easily access his salary and savings, raising further suspicions as she had been embezzling my mother-in-law's money. I had spoken to him in advance and arranged for him to hear the conversation via phone.
I've been listening from the start. Enough with the excuses. Just admit your mistakes already. That's despicable.
But...
What you've done is a serious crime. I was shocked when I checked the bank account earlier. It was a big mistake to let you manage our finances.
The atmosphere froze in an eerie silence due to the incredible anger of my sister-in-law's husband. Well, having said all I wanted to say, I decided not to intervene further and just silently watched my sister-in-law's husband lecture her. His reprimands were so intense that it made me tremble just watching. But I didn't feel bad for her at all. I only thought about ensuring she repays the money, and that she shouldn't assume this would be the end of it. The lecturing continued for a while, and eventually she knelt down to apologize to both me and my mother-in-law before leaving. According to my sister-in-law's husband, he had left the management of their household finances entirely to her, thinking they were saving and increasing their savings by cutting back on expenses. However, it turned out she was gambling away all the money saved. As her gambling intensified, she eventually incurred debts on her credit cards and began stealing money from my mother-in-law to pay it off. The moment someone addicted to gambling gets cash, they are unlikely to repay debts, instead trying to recover their losses, leading to more gambling. Currently, the total amount she owes from various sources is more than what she has stolen from her husband and mother-in-law. Her husband, upon learning about this, decided to divorce her, but plans to make her work to repay the full amount for the money she stole and the child support she misused. Until then, he had no intention of divorcing her and was constantly monitoring her behavior, hoping for her to change herself. It seems like tough days are ahead for my sister-in-law. Later, my mother-in-law apologized to me for the misunderstanding, and we still meet for tea about once a month. Now that my husband has passed away, I want to maintain a good relationship with her, the mother who gave birth to him, and support her to the end.